Governor Nino Uy provided the figures for the damages on the provincial assets, but as what he has also presented, it also included as well the national assets, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, Secretary has a rough estimate of how much, but it would be no less than 1.5 billion as well, at least on District 2 alone, on District 1, around the same number as well, Mr. President. But so far, as to at least continuing the daily lives of our constituents there, Secretary Rex Gatchalian was kind enough also to go with us to visit. And so far, the relief efforts have been very fruitful. And we really thank DSWD and Sec Rex for that one, along with the continuous efforts of the province LGU as well. But I think
We
that one.
really are still at that point that we still, that we will, that's as much as we can do for now, is to provide shelter and support for those who have been displaced. All of the other damages will still have to be assessed, and then we will then have to make a plan, get it funded. Now, the problem now with the provincial road bridges, again, Secretary Gabo, I think, has some ideas on that, so we'll listen to him afterwards. Okay, so thank you. The next situation briefing will be for Davao del Norte.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. President, and to all the cabinet secretaries, as well as to fellow government workers. Unang-una, Mr. President, maraming salamat po sa pagpunta dito at personally pagdinig sa aming concern po dito sa Davao Region. So here is the situational report for Davao del Norte. First is the effects of the shear line weather system on the second week of January 2024. Next slide, please. So it brought heavy rainfall and flash flood in our province. We declared a state of calamity last January 19, 2024. Next slide, please. Summary report of the shear line weather system. Affected population is 89,941 families. Damage to agriculture is 200 million. Damage to infrastructure is 1.1 billion, with 7 affected local government units. Next slide, please. Effects of the trough of low pressure area, first week of February 2024. Next slide, please. More widespread flooding and landslide incidents affecting more local government units and constituents in Davao del Norte. Next slide, please. Summary report of the trough of LPA. Affected population rose to 170,707 families, 1 missing individual due to drowning, 8 casualties because of landslide and drowning. Partial damage loss to agriculture is 44 million. Partial damage to infrastructure is 111 million. Increase in number of affected LGUs and barangays. Next slide, please. So this is the summary of cost of damages. For agriculture, it's 244 million. For infrastructure, it's 1.2 billion. Next slide, please. So these are some photos, Mr. President. I would like to emphasize this first photo because this is the Daang Maharlika Highway. This is our national highway. And it brought a standstill for 4 days. 4 days. And hindi po madadaanan ng kahit anong vehicle going from Davao going north. So, yung other bypass road po, papunta ng north, flooded din po. So, in-emphasize po namin ito, it's because malaki po yung effect nito sa economy and delivery of relief goods to the other provinces, specifically Davao de Oro and Davao Oriental. Next slide, please. Ito po, sample picture of the Daang Maharlika Highway. Next slide. So this is from the municipality of Carmen, the municipal gym, which used to be an evacuation center. Ngayon, pumasok po yung tubig. Next slide, please. Sample also of the Daang Maharlika Highway. Next slide, please. Tagum City, 1 barangay. Dati hindi inaabutan ng flood, ngayon abutan po. Next slide, please. From the municipality of Duhali, sample pictures. Next slide, please. And this one is school, isang sample ng school po, eskwelahan. Marami po kaming eskwelahan doon na totally flooded po. And nakita nyo po, sample po yan, wala kaming evacuation centers. Kasi yung school gyms, kahit ang mga barangay gyms, flooded. So nasa daan po sila, nagtatrapa lang po. Diyan po. Nag-evacuate po sa mga daan po. Yes po.
Hindi rin pwede eskwelahan.
Yes po. This is the situation for 3 municipalities Asuncion, Duhali, and Carmen, more or less 80% po na submerge yung barangays po.
How many persons are under yung ganyang klaseng shelter?
Marami po, Mr. President.
What's the anong bilang? Do we have a count?
Number of evacuees, Mr. President.
Oh, I guess you can call them
Go.
evacuees. Oh. Well, more importantly, yung hindi wala sa evacuation center.
Yes po, kasi yung count po namin sa evacuees na sa evacuation center pero hindi na po namin na-count po, yung nandyan na po sa daan po.
Sa labas.
Yes po, yes
Do you
po.
have a number? Yes.
Mr. President, galing rin to sa
Yes, po.
province. But this is as of, I think, last night.
Yes.
Sa Davao del Norte, the number of families inside evacuation centers, 3,050.
Okay.
And then those that are outside, mas marami ho, Mr. President, 51,041. Kasi dahil nag-state of calamity na, I think lahat na
Yes,
sila
po.
considered na victim. So they can't differentiate na kung nasa kalsada o nasa loob pa ng bahay nila. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes, Secretary. Oo.
What do we do with this?
May-
Dapat prioritize because they cannot stay there for much longer.
I have a recommendation in the ways forward po, Mr.
Sige, we'll
President.
wait for that. All right.
Yes
keep
po.
going.
Okay. So next slide, please. So amount of assistance received from DSWD and other sources, OVP 2769 relief packs, OCD 11 400 packs, hygiene kits and malong. From DSWD 91,636 food and non-food items. Next slide, please. Ito po yung sinabi ko, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po sa ECT. Actually, ito po yung initially na na-approve po, Secretary, for 70,000 beneficiaries at close to 700 million. Nag-start na po yung implementation kahapon po and ongoing po today. But unfortunately, the 70,000 count was during the shear line. So we have this additional request for ECT payout for the remaining 100,000 families po. Opo. Opo. Sana po. Sana po. Opo. Next slide, please. So ways forward. Immediate assistance needed for repair, rehabilitation of roads, bridges, and dikes. So, ang nilagay lang po namin sa for immediate action is yung mga major rivers which caused the flooding, either because it was damaged or needs rehabilitation. So, ito po, rehabilitation of Iho River, flood control, rehabilitation of Saog River, flood control. Next slide, please. Rehabilitation of Barangay Kabaywa to Barangay Del Pilar Road. Daang Maharlika, Tagum City section, nag-scar po yung tawag nito, National Highway. Next slide, please. Rehabilitation of Lasang River, flood control. Rehabilitation of Tagum Libuganon River, flood control. Next slide, please. Rehabilitation of earth dike along Tagum Libuganon, Tumas, and BE Duhali River. Rehabilitation of dike Sadpudon River. Next slide, please. Construction of flood mitigation structure, location Talomo, Salvacion, Esperanza, and upgrading of dike along Tagum Libuganon River, Mabaos, Guadalupe section. Next slide, please. So other infrastructure needs. Ito po yung kanina, Mr. President. We would like to request elevated barangay or school gyms as that would serve as evacuation centers. Why elevated po? It's because kung maghihingi po kami ng evacuation center, minsan ang problema sa ibang barangay, kulang po yung public land na paglalagyan po natin kung saan po. So, one of the options for now, i-elevate na lang po sana muna yung mga gyms and or barangay gyms, kung saan yung mga areas na totally submerged po yung barangay. Next slide, please. Other immediate needs, shelter assistance. We have yet to finalize the count po, kami ni Govden. Totally damaged. These are the figures that we need. And agriculture assistance, Mr. President, we have thousands of hectares affected by the flooding. Rice, corn, vegetable, banana farmers. If we could request for inputs amounting to 12,000 per hectare for fish pond operators, owners, fingerlings and other inputs, 15,000 pesos per hectare, and local backyard livestock raisers, 20,000 peso per raiser. Next slide, please. Other immediate needs during the flooding, bigla po naputol yung mga water supply. So, we would like to request for this LGUs, water tankers for potable water transportation. Next slide, please. And other immediate needs, rubber boat for rescue operations. We only included these 6 LGUs municipalities because Yung calamity fund po nila, maliliit lang po talaga. Although meron silang mga rescue equipment, pero hindi po talaga, kulang na po talaga during that incident. Next slide, please. Yun. For medium and long-term projects, we will submit it to different government agencies po. So again, Mr. President, ang number one ko lang po emphasize yung Daang Maharlika sa Carmen side po. Kasi maapektuhan po yung whole economy po natin going north. So kailangan po may medium or short-term medium solution. Although I think initially the DPWH already has a solution, Mr. President.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.